Morning, everybody. Everybody set? For the past 6 years, I have been blessed, and the people of Ohio have been blessed by having Jon Husted as Lieutenant Governor. He was someone who I knew if something happened to me, he could walk in and become the governor of the state of Ohio and lead the state. I also knew every day that he added a great deal to our administration, and frankly, great number of the successes that we've had in our office, Jon Husted played a major role. After I asked him to go to the United States Senate, obviously we have a vacancy in the lieutenant governor's position. And so I started looking. I've talked to a number of people. We have some amazing candidates, frankly, who could have served very well. Again, my criteria, number one, the most important thing is someone who can serve as governor if something would happen to me over the next 100 weeks. Second, I want someone who can really contribute, someone who can be value added for the people of the state of Ohio, someone who has all the skill sets to be part of our team and to lead. A number of different things, and I might just go through the different things that I think are very important. I want, first of all, someone that knew Ohio. This is a complex state. This is a state of city-states, but it's a rural, 70 of our counties are rural, just a very diverse state, fascinating state, great state. But it takes a while to get to know the state. So I want someone who knew the state. I want someone whose judgment I felt was very good. I want someone who was a leader, someone who is used to making decisions, someone who listens, weighs the different options, and then comes to a conclusion. I want someone, frankly, who shared Ohio values, my values, Ohio's values. Someone also, though, who could pull people together. One of the requirements, I think, of a governor is someone who can work. Don't always succeed, but at least work to try to pull people together. I want someone who kind of shared my vision for the state of Ohio, and that is that we want everyone to live up to their God-given potential. I want someone who would focus on education, someone who would focus on workforce. Those are really the two areas that we will continue to focus on and put the most emphasis on for the next 2 years. I want someone who understood, as I said, that workforce development. I want someone who understood the connection between career tech, between business, and between education, and had worked in that field. As I said, there are many good candidates. 9 days ago, a week ago Saturday, Fran and I went to Northeast Ohio, went to the home of Jim Tressel and his wife Ellen. We met with Jim, and I asked him if he would serve as Lieutenant Governor of the state of Ohio. I'm pleased to say that he told us yes, and today I will be sending his name to the Senate and to the House. I'll be sending the name of Jim Tressel. I'll be nominating him to be Ohio's next Lieutenant Governor. I first met Jim a number of years ago, but I really got to know him when he became president of Youngstown State. And I've worked very closely with him and observed what he's done and has seen the reaction in the Mahoning Valley among the leaders to him. He knows how to pull education in together and to reach out to the business community. He understands that education, part of the education job is to educate young people. It's also to try to grow the state in the sense of economic development. And he's been involved in economic development in the Mahoning Valley as well. He has the requisite skill sets. He has the criteria that I outlined. He knows Ohio. Jim Tressel, I trust his judgment. He is a born leader. He's a leader wherever he has been. Spent a great deal of his career working with young people and leading them. He shares my values. He shares Ohio. Jim Tressel is Ohio values. He's a hard worker and shares that vision for the future of the state of Ohio. He has the ability to pull people together. He has the ability to lead. He will enable me to be assured that if something happens to me, he can walk in and be governor that day. And it would be seamless, and he would be able to take over. We certainly hope that that's not happened, but we have to know that that person has the ability to do that. Second, his background in education, his background in workforce development, his background in economic development, all bode very, very well. He's going to do a number of things in our administration, and we'll be outlining those in the days and the weeks ahead. But certainly, he's going to be involved directly with education. He's going to be involved with workforce development and how those two come together. He and I have already had some going back and forth with a lot of ideas. This is not unusual for Jim Tressel. The thing I've noticed about him, and I've reached out to him, frankly, over the years many, many times to get ideas. What do we do about our universities that, because of demographics, might be struggling? Other questions. He has always come back to me with answers that I thought were very well reasoned and were very intuitive, but also based upon his experience. So I am very happy to be sending his name to the state Senate today. I talked briefly to the Speaker and the Senate President an hour or so ago, and I know Jim will look forward to talking with members of the General Assembly, and I certainly hope that he will be confirmed. My job is to nominate. As I said, I will nominate him today to be our next Lieutenant Governor. Jim?
Sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Governor, First Lady. This is really a humbling moment. As the governor mentioned, he rode up to our house, and I thought he was just coming to watch a couple grandkids play basketball. That was his excuse, I think, to stop up. And then when he brought up this thought of considering the lieutenant governor position, many things went flowing through my mind because I've admired what he's done, not just in his overall career, but as he said, in the times we've had a chance in the last 6 to 7 years to work together, of how deeply he and Fran care for every single person in this state, how they want every single young person and on through adult to reach their God-given potential. He wants this to be the greatest state in the world. He bleeds scarlet and gray, and he's very he can make an impact when he asks you to do something. He's very convincing. Let me use the word convincing. And so I obviously had a million thoughts going through my mind. A year ago, February, I retired as the president at Youngstown State University, and I've told many people that I've flunked retirement so far and have been really, really busy. But it's been on fun things, important things. And when he brought up this thought, I said, well, obviously I need to talk to Ellen. And so she happened to be down south playing a little bit of golf, and so I got to her later in the day, and I said, Ellen, you're not going to believe this, but the governor thinks that we'd be capable of being helpful and wants us to consider this. And she said, it sounds like God has more work for you to do. And we owe just about everything in our blessed lives to the state of Ohio. And she said, if the governor thinks you can help in the state of Ohio, we should consider it. And I always, Dom, I always do what Ellen says. And so we began the conversation, and we had worked so much on education things because I'm an educator. That's just what I was trained to be, and that's what I'll be till I die. And we talked a lot with Jobs Ohio and the economic development regions and so forth about all these wonderful opportunities that they've created for our state. I mean, this probably is not a greater moment in our state than we've had in hundreds of years with opportunities. And we really need to do a good job of getting that workforce to execute those opportunities, to find out what it is we need to do to take advantage of them. And so that was one of the things that the governor talked a little bit about, and we also talked a little bit about something going back to our childhoods. We grew up when they had the President's Council on Fitness. And he said, one of the things I haven't gotten done yet is talked a little bit about a fitness in that type of thing. He said, maybe we should do that. And then just the conversations went on. And so I know there won't be any lack of things to talk about and think about and work on. I'll have a lot of learning. I don't know this world particularly. Fortunately, I believe in our governor and what he believes in. And my first job is to go to school on that and then see if I can evolve and try to make a difference in the state that has been so special to us. So again, I thank you and
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it. Thank you
very much. Happy to answer any questions.
Governor, you talked about education. Is there a chance that you will do double duty with the Department of Education and the workforce?
We haven't totally defined his roles, but that will certainly be one of the areas that he will be working on. I don't look, for example, to I'm very happy with Steve Dakin, who heads up that department, and as far as K through 12, and I'm not going to change that, but he's going to be, I think, very, very valuable to us. I've watched him work with the business community, and historically, sometimes the business community and the education folks didn't talk a lot. When he went to Youngstown State, one of the first things he did is just pulled the business community in, because it's so intertwined, and it gives these young people the real opportunity to live up to their full potential.
Lieutenant Governor nominee, can you talk a little bit about the work you would specifically like to get into and whether or not you're going to kind of pick up where Lieutenant Governor, now Senator Jon Husted, left off?
Yeah, let me just say that I'll start and then Jim can talk about it. But what we've kind of outlined today is the way we see this today. But as Jim pointed out, there's going to be anybody who's worked around me knows that I'm always thinking about other things. And one of the areas that we did talk about was physical fitness. And I think Jim is the logical person to lead that effort for our administration. This is about wellness. This is about health. This is about our young people. So it's a very logical thing for him to focus on. Anybody else?
Did you want me to?
Oh, I am sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
She was kind of waving at me.
Yep, go.
What's most important about any member of a team is whatever the team needs you to do. Is what you need to do. And we've talked a lot about those education and workforce things. We've daydreamed about others. I want to study a little bit about what Jon Husted, has going on. And so I want to learn, the business, if you will. And then it's up to, when you sit down with the team and the staff and everyone else, trying to figure out who plays what position best, and I'd be more than happy to help wherever I can.
With so much division from the national level, what will you do to make sure that you work for every Ohioan, no matter what side you're on?
Well, one thing that I always believed was every single person on our team was who I worked for. And when I was running a university, I was representing every single student, every faculty member, every staff member, every alum. And everyone is important. We had a little acronym we always used with our young people, WAYT. And that simply meant, what are you thinking? We want to know what you're thinking. Because if what you're thinking, we can maybe get some good ideas. What you're thinking, maybe we can clarify and give you some data as to why this is going on. But clearly, every single member of the team, really in a society, the only way we'll have a great society is if I understand that I'm insignificant without every other person in this society. And that's what I would pledge to do.
Right now in the legislature, you have a lot of lawmakers who have a lot of different ideas about what should be done to reform, especially higher education, but education in general. You've been there. You've worked as a coach. You've worked as an athletic director, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've worked as a teacher. You've worked in head of a university. Can you explain, having all that background, what kind of skills you bring and the idea that if you move one thing, something else moves too?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I think it is helpful that I do know the complexity of it, because sometimes people make things sound simple and then they really dig in and they say, "Woo, well, the reason we do this is this." And again, that's wanting to know what people are thinking, what is their perspective now, and how can we come together with common ground. And that comes from giving on all sides, you know, and that's, to me, the fun of trying to build teams, is that what everyone thinks is important, what everyone wants is important. What we have to do for the good of the whole is what's most important. And so I think knowing that complexity will help.
Do you have any political ambitions beyond this 2-year stint as lieutenant governor, and then the governor, was that a consideration in your pick?
Well, I promised for 699 days, is that what it was, Fran?
Fran said.
For 699 days to have a singleness of purpose and a singleness of focus. And so to serve the needs that the governor outlines and his staff, and, you know, really my focus is beyond that. I remember about 25 years ago I said to a group in Columbus that I had my sight set on 310 days later, and that was my singleness of focus. Now I have a 699-day singleness of focus.
So does that mean you're ruling out a 2026 run for statewide office?
Let me start on that.
Okay.
So, we've had no discussion about that. I asked Jim to sign up for a little less than 2 years, and that's what he's agreed to do. So I think that's been our focus. We've had no discussion about anything else. That's what we've been talking about. So.
LG appointee, you like football, right? What do you make of...
You could call me Jim, by the way.
Okay,
Okay.
Jim.
Okay.
You like football. What do you make of the Browns and the Bengals wanting state money to, update their stadiums? What do you think about that?
So you got to watch her because she's always.
Well, you know, one of the pre-homework things I did do is I watched the budget press conference, and I thought that was a pretty interesting thing with talking about, and I don't know it, tooth and nail, but I thought it was a pretty good thing about some of the proceeds that could go to some of the student activities, and I think it's worth a good conversation. But yeah, I do like the Browns and the Bengals. Yep.
So I would also say that speaking of that, when you look at that plan, under our plan at least, we'll see what the legislature wants to do. But under our plan, a significant amount of this money would go K through 12. And I think, Jim would certainly, if the legislature agrees with that, he certainly would be involved in us putting a plan together. And would mesh well with what we're talking about, which is really kind of use the bully pulpit of the governor's office and lieutenant governor's office to focus a lot more on student wellness. And
you have in your budget proposed raising taxes on cigarettes, marijuana, and gambling. Toledo Blade calls them sin taxes. What is the idea of targeting these three things?
Well, they're each different. As you know, when you look at starting with marijuana, there was pretty much a consensus reached, although the bill didn't pass the House. There was a consensus reached last year about where this money could be spent, and it could be spent on things that we thought would really make a difference, and frankly wouldn't get done but for using that money in the marijuana. As far as the cigarette tax, when you have that discussion, you have to look at where that money, again, is going. And in this case, this money would go to working families who have children under the age of 7, and they could get up to $1,000 per child. And that seemed to me to be a very good trade-off. We can't do it any other way. We have to do it this way if we're going to, in fact, get this done. We need to be supportive of families in the state of Ohio. Families are key. Families are everything. And families that have young kids have just more stress for many, many reasons. And so it just, it seemed to be a very, very, very good trade-off. Sports gaming, again, we wouldn't be the highest state in tax, and it's not a tax against the gamblers. It's not a tax against the citizens who are legally betting. It is a tax with these companies, and still we would not be the highest state in the union. And using that money to do something that we have done for over 50 years, and that is the state government, the taxpayers of the state have put money into stadiums and ballparks. And quite candidly, anybody thinks that there'll ever be an end to that. This would make sure that we have a dedicated fund and that we're not taking this money out of the precious general fund. The general fund has to be focused on education. The general fund has to be focused on mental health. The general fund has to be focused on addiction and children's services. All of these things. And so that's why we did this. And it's easy to round it off and say, well, you got 3 sin tax. Well, that's all true, but you have to look at each one, and I think you have to make a decision. Is it the right thing to do to raise this money and raise it in this way, and the good that will be done with that amount of money? Because those things are not going to get done but for those fees, we'll call them, or taxes. So anyway, who else?
Why did you decide where to direct that marijuana funding, and why did you eliminate the community post fund?
Look, this was a consensus that was reached by leadership last year. We looked at the needs of the state of Ohio and where those real needs were. And look, we all want more money to go back to the local communities. But frankly, that was almost a lottery in the sense that some got money, some didn't get money, and it would have been nice to be able to do it, but we also have jails that need to be dealt with. We have police training. We need to be the first in the nation in regard to police training. No one thinks about police training until there's a tragedy. No one thinks about police training until something happens and say, oh my God, how'd that happen? There is no substitute for police training. And there's no substitute for scenario-based training that's real. And so if we're going to do those, I got to look at the whole budget. I got to look at where we can get money. There is no place else to pull that money from. We cannot take that from the general fund. If you take that from the general fund, you're taking it away from mental health, you're taking it away from addiction, you're taking it away from many, many different programs focused on kids, K through 12, mental health, and That's why you have to look at the whole and see how you can put a budget together that takes care of the needs of the people of the state of Ohio.
Jobs Ohio is seeking a 15-year extension on its lease on liquor license. This has gone back and forth for a couple of months. AG Davios has asked for a delay on that and wants more transparency. Where do you stand, and do you think this agency needs more transparency into the deals that it's making?
I'm sorry, I missed the last sentence.
Where do you stand on this 15-year extension?
Yeah, look, I can tell you I've done this now for 6 years. We've had huge victories. We have brought companies into the state of Ohio. All the high-profile ones that you think about, and many, many more that we never even think about, but that are occurring out there, would not have happened but for Jobs Ohio. Ask the other states. Everybody is envious. Other governors are envious of Jobs Ohio. And so what this does is simply extends it. It will allow them to have some breathing room. It will allow us to continue to compete with other states, and it will allow us to continue to win. If we want to continue to win, we have to have Jobs Ohio in the game, fully in the game. This is how we have them in.
Do you agree with the calls for more transparency, though? Like, do you agree with the calls for more transparency into them?
Look, I didn't write the law. I was not governor when it was written, but I will say this, that Governor Kasich and the legislature, I think, did something that was literally transformative. And part of what it doesn't mean we couldn't have some more openness. I would have to look at what each particular suggestion, bill, whatever would be. But Jobs Ohio's ability to assure a company coming in that nothing is going to get disclosed if, in fact, they don't come to the state of Ohio is pretty important. If they do come to the state of Ohio, it's disclosed. You all write about it. It's disclosed because Jobs Ohio puts it out there, and we put it out there for the economic development about what we're paying, what the deal is. So we're always open to more ideas.
There are a number of immigration-related bills being introduced at the state.
I'm sorry, number of what?
Immigration-related bills being introduced at the state house to pull funding from so-called sanctuary cities to require immigration status to be disclosed. The idea is even floated of allowing ICE or requiring that ICE goes to schools. What's your take on these sorts of bills?
Look, I don't always comment on every bill that's introduced. These bills I haven't really even looked at. Look, we are going to follow the law. This is Ohio is a law-following state. We're going to follow the law, and we'll take a look at what these bills have to say. I would just say again, as you've heard me say before, this is nothing new. In regard to legal immigrants, Ohio, you should come to Ohio. We need you to work. We always need people who are willing to pull the wagon. We always need people who are willing to work and roll up their sleeves and make our economy move and do things. We want those people who are legal to come into the state of Ohio, and that's I will continue to say that. That's very, very important to our future. I long for the day, and I think it will come when the southern border is taken care of, and we don't have to have this craziness that goes on at the southern border today. At that point, I think it would be time, if I can step out of my lane a little bit, and it's time then for Congress to look at, what do we want to do in the area of legal immigration? What kind of laws do we pass, and who do we allow in that's benefit to the United States? Who should be coming in legally? We've not been able to do that or have that conversation for a long, long, long time. I was in the House of Representatives in the mid-'80s. I think the last time a major immigration bill was signed by, in that case, Ronald Reagan. It was a Democrat bill. Democrats controlled the House and the Senate. They passed the bill, and Reagan signed it. So I long for the day when we can take immigration off the table as a partisan issue. That probably is not going to happen until the southern border is, in fact, taken care of.
Governor, you and Jon Husted came with extensive state government experience. Jim Tressel has a lot of valuable experience, I'm sure, but it's not state government experience. Can you just talk about why you're confident he can do the lieutenant governor job and possibly your job violently?
Look, if you look at Jon Husted, if you look at Jon Husted, if you look at Jim Tressel, they have different backgrounds. but they're both extremely valuable. And the assets that they have, the skill sets that they have, the life experiences they have. This is a pick that I felt was very important. As I said, we want someone who could take over if something happens to me, but I also want someone every single day who is working and come up with ideas. And this is a guy with ideas. Jim Tressel has ideas. I can guarantee you that. And the discussions I've had with him for many, many, many years, and they're thoughtful, and they're based upon what he's seen, what he has learned. That's what I want him to bring to the table for us every single day. And to me, that's just extremely valuable. Would be extremely valuable to the people of the state of Ohio.
Governor, there is a lot of speculation leading up to this announcement that Lydia Mahalik would get the appointment. How seriously did you consider her, and what led you to nominate Mr. Tressel?
Yeah, Lydia Mahalik would have been a great lieutenant governor. She has a great future. She is very highly talented, very, very motivated. She's done a great job for us. I could say the same thing, frankly, about Andy Wilson. He has been a phenomenal person in the whole area of security, the whole area of the crime challenges that we have. I could go through other members of the cabinet some of them whose names have not been mentioned yet, so I won't do that. But we had a number of great people in the cabinet. Every one of them who expressed an interest to me could have served and served very, very well, and would have brought different assets to the job. We also had people, frankly, outside the cabinet who we considered and talked with, and many of them would have been very, very good as well.
Was Mr. Trestle Swami ever a consideration?
I'm not going to get into the names because then we just go on and on. So.
Mr. Trestle, have you ever considered holding elected office like this before? And it sounds like it might have been a surprise when the governor asked you about this a week ago. So was it?
Oh, it was a surprise for sure. But I've always enjoyed working with the decision makers in the state. I was in public universities for 46 years, and I've really enjoyed working with the legislators. I know a lot of the legislators even today. They've been great difference makers. I've worked with the governors. I've worked with kind of the unseen group, the governor's staffs, who are really outstanding. So, yes, it was a surprise. I've always enjoyed working kind of in this arena, and I'm going to work like crazy to try to learn all I can learn and contribute all I can contribute, and I'm excited.
So why haven't you run for office in the past?
I've been busy.
He's had a few other jobs. So,
no other reason than that.
Which do you think is a tougher job, being a football coach or lieutenant governor?
you have to ask him.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to this second one. I do know it was harder being a college president than a coach because of the enormity of all that you feel responsible to. And so now I would just guess that because you're in a lieutenant governor situation, it's even a broader group. That I went from 100 guys and a dozen coaches to 12,000 students and 2,000 employees, now to an entire state. So I would guess it's much more complex and it's much more difficult and probably much more exciting.
Governor, when did you decide to nominate Jim Tressel? I know you talked to him 9 days ago, but there's been speculation for weeks about who you might name.
Well, I've frankly thought about Jim Tressel for a long time.
Governor, your Medicaid budget, part of the growth of it relies on raising hospital franchise fees and being able to draw down more federal funds. Are you concerned about relying so heavily on something that might get missed?
Well, I think we take the world as we find it, and I've learned that it's probably not a good idea to be afraid of doing something because a future Congress might change something. I think we take it the way it is today. Everybody knows that anything can be changed. That can be changed. So, again, this is something that the hospitals ask us to do. What we're asking the hospitals, frankly, is to reach more underserved areas. We're asking them to reach out to our rural areas of the state that are not covered as well as, frankly, they should be covered. We've made some progress. We've been able to do some things, but, being able to have this money, that's the part of the deal is that they will reach out and cover many of the areas, the communities, whether they're in the urban area or the rural area, that are not being covered. And they've assured me that they can do this with this additional funds. And so that's why, I've endorsed that, and I think it's the right way to go. We have to serve all our citizens in the state of Ohio, and health care is just vitally important.
Coach Tressel, are you okay with Ohio losing to Michigan when it comes to marijuana sales?
Coach Tressel, that's like 3 eras ago. No, I'm not good with that in any arena.
Governor, President Trump over the weekend announced tariffs on foreign steel.
I'm probably not going to comment on this, but go ahead.
In your eyes, what will that do for Ohio's remaining steel industry?
Well, we're certainly looking at that. We're certainly looking at different announcements that have come out of the White House, and sometimes we get clarification. And so anyway, we're looking at all those things. So. Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, everybody.